Welcome back. You're watching Daybreak, and it's time for us to take a look at the pages this morning. And we will indeed begin from home, beginning with the Guardian newspaper this morning. Oh, my producer says we have to definitely start from this day. And let's go straight to the big story there. Tinubu in Katsina charges security agencies to root out insurgency and foreign collaborators. And just on top of the masthead, it has a CBN grows operating income to 15.23 trillion naira. Assets hit 117.6 trillion naira in 2024. And looking back at that interview from yesterday, the one with the governor of Abia State, and one of the big statements from there said, "I have no reason to dump Labour Party. Everybody mustn't be in the APC," and that one is addressing the talks and gossips about decamping and also a one-party situation. So let's see exactly what's happening. Well, it's about the only governor of a Labour Party, and he says he's staying exactly where he is. But time to move on right now to another newspaper, and the next is the Punch, and quite interesting story there from the Punch. And the big one there is $3 billion refinery fraud. Well, 80 billion naira found in sacked MD's bank accounts. Wow. And riders there, Port Harcourt, Warri, Katsina refineries, MDs arrested. Then Kiari, 13 senior ex-NNPCL officials face probe. Now, that looks like a tsunami there, trying to reach out and, of course, do some house cleaning. And then also look back at some of those who have indeed been in charge of the sector in recent times. And then just below the head there, Atiku slams Tinubu as president's son battles torture allegations. Well, the end has not been heard yet of that situation involving the National Association of Nigerian Students factional president, who's indeed making some allegations there about the president's son. And the Punch is still running stories from the Akpabio Natasha issues, and it says US-based activist in war of words over leaked audio. Well, just also behind, besides the masthead, this one is on entertainment. Resemblance between Ifeanyi and my new son, scary. Well, that's exactly what Davido is saying. And I think when you look back, have we seen pictures of his new son a whole lot on the media? Well, I think he's done a very good job of keeping them behind. Well, dropping down, I was stopped from saving ex-customs officer who died during wife's birthday. Well, that's a medical doctor. And, very strong allegations there. And I'm sure that's indeed something that, the security agencies would want to take a second look at. And also, this has sad tales of parental corrections that's ended in tragedy. Of course, there's some advice there, and perhaps one reason why you definitely want to take a second look at that one. And going over to weekend trusts. Well, a very big headline there is Nigeria drifting to a one-party state. And I want to say that, plenty of allegations about that. And some people say, well, maybe it's not in the president's position to keep opposition parties together. And who is stopping anybody from joining another party? Well, the Constitution underlines the reasons why one will defect, but how much, have that been interrogated? Well, a whole lot needs to be said about it. And Prince Adeyemi Aderi Bigbe is saying, well, meet the luckiest man in the world. Why exactly is it lucky? And the FBI DEA to release a Tinubu report schedule in 90 days. And also on the Plateau, how Plateau conflict cost headers over 300 million in 2 months. And there's a small rider there, about 55 cows killed, 206 rustled. And that continues to support the argument for those who say it is a clash between farmers and headers, and farmers and headers. And for some people, they say, well, no matter how much you want to take a look at what has been lost in terms of properties, does it equate to the number of killings that has been seen about human lives lost? Was it up to 300 or thereabouts? We're talking about a figure put out recently. And just beneath, just at the end there, you see reports about security agencies seal Galadima's residents as Sanusi, Bayero, Toban appointees. At the end, has not also been heard about the power tussle over there in Kano as regards the Emirates. Now let's move on to the Guardian newspaper, and the major headline there has something to do with malnutrition. It says empty plates, bleak future. That definitely is quite strong. And malnutrition destroying nothing Nigeria. Well, remembering UN OCHA saying as much as 4.2 million people, was it 4.3 million people in dire need of, improved nutrition, and they're saying that they need a whole lot of money to ensure that they help as the lean season approaches. By the time the raining season sets in, it's going to be very difficult to do lots of movement, and already, well, lots of children are feeling the heat, and families are having very torrid times having to deal with feeding, and it's taking a toll on nutrition. Well, that's something that the government definitely want to take a look at. Well, also when you consider the fact that there are issues about the impact of lack of funding, believed to be hitting, such arrangements, particularly when you take, due to the rounding off of some of these agencies that have been involved in humanitarian works in Africa and Nigeria, to be specific. Well, away from that, well, let's go straight to the Daily Mail, going international now. And our first stop is in the UK, and the Prince, he's got a picture on the front pages there, and they're saying the King won't speak to me. I don't know how much longer he has left. Well, to put it in context, my dad won't speak to me. Well, how exactly does that sound? And from that interview from the BBC, well, if there's one thing that we definitely can see over there is how estranged the relationship is in the royal family. But he's extending a hand of friendship, and he's saying, can we stop all this? But he also goes on in that interview to say, well, it's not my call. Well, they also, it's a whole lot has to do with them, especially when you take a look at the allegations concerning himself and his family. To be very specific, his wife was maltreated, and some of the things that the claim was said about their son, quite very nasty. They did sound back then. And still staying with that big interview by the BBC with Prince Harry, he said the Duke blasts dad after court defeat and slams royals but wants reconciliation. And the king is frustrated at the lack of respect. And, it's summarized by the Sun as Harry's lost it. Now, that's exactly what they say. But I think the most important thing there is the fact that he has talked about reconciliation. So it has to start from somewhere. And we don't know if he's privy to any information, saying he doesn't know how much more his dad has left. So all those things, when you put it all together, when is the best time to make peace? They say, well, if there's no peace, then perhaps now should be the best time. Now, going to the UK Guardian, and reform wins at beginning of end of Tories. That's what Nigel Farage is saying. Well, he no doubt is a disruptor in the system, and that's exactly what he's come to do. Well, when you take a look at Brexit, and then you take a look at what he's done with the elections right now, ensuring that the Tories and also the Labour is put under some kind of scrutiny, and people are beginning to say, well, maybe it's time for us to go back and then see what exactly the Reform NP has to offer. Okay, well, that's about as much as we can take this morning on the newspaper segment, and that wraps it all for me today on Daybreak. It's goodbye. It's Ferdinand Duro Hussein. Do keep it here with us on Arise News.